Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be going over not new, I'm a bit late to the party, but the official Trench Crusade map, which is crazy. Now, there is a few things wrong with this map that just doesn't make sense historically and is just kind of stupid and silly. So, before I do anything else about this and breaking down the map, I have to deal with the mistakes that this map does make. So, let's get started. Now, the first mistake they made is pretty clear. All the other flags are like symbols and seals from the first Crusade era. Wales just has their country's flag, and while their country's flag is objectively the best flag, I'm not hearing any debates about this, it's just true. I don't think that makes sense historically. I think it would be better if they used the Four Lions flag. Put that up on screen. This flag I would feel like would make the most sense for them to have. Now, while historically it wasn't used during the First Crusade, because Welsh was a bit complicated during the First Crusade. There was a bunch of different factions vying for control. Average European history, but I feel like this is not only the best designed, but also the one that was around straight after the First Crusade, which would historically make sense. Now, if you think they should have used a different flag or should have just stuck with that flag, tell me why. Leave a comment down below. Explain why I'm wrong or why you think I'm right, either way. Now, one drama I've also seen around in some spaces is how Kiev is spelled. They're saying that it's not historically accurate to how it would actually be spelled, and how it would actually be spelled is this. Now, I don't know whether they're right or wrong, but I just wanted to say that it is a discussion I have been hearing around this map. Now, it's a small discussion for the most part, but still important to add in. Now, a discussion that I severely disagree with is that the heretics don't have enough land. They should be sprawling. They should have the entire world under their control. And I disagree with that. I believe that while the heretics do not have that much power on land, it's not even that. They have around medium power on land. Where they really shine is the seas. And that's what's important. Who cares if you don't have that much land power? If you control the oceans, you win. And in the lore, we see time and time again that the only people who have true control of the oceans are the heretics. The heretics control the oceans, and the only force that's even slightly powerful enough to stand up against them is England and maybe Spain. I'm only assuming that because it's stated that they have trade with South and North America, and it wouldn't really make sense for them not to be able to do that if they didn't have some sea power, seafaring power. Now, for both cases, they're barely holding on. England is barely surviving. They're using the strongest weapon they have, the moving fortress of Britannia, is only a defensive weapon, and the heretics have their own, and the heretics use it as a battering ram. The faithful use their great and mighty ship as a shield. As well as that, if you live in a coastal city, you're pretty much doomed. Now, while yes, coastal cities would have, assumingly, the most protection, you would still have to deal with heretic raids, which would absolutely demolish you. So, while yes, the heretics don't have that much land power, they have way more power in the ocean, and that does a lot of damage. Because that means not only do you have no chance of trade, which basically just leaves you to Europe and Asia and walking, it also means that they can't spread their ideology. The heretics have free roam over everything. Now, of course, Spain is just built different and can trade with South America, but I'm assuming that that's barely and is at great risk to the sailors themselves of getting killed by heretics. As well as that, heretics have submarines, like actual submarines. You're kind of screwed if you just have a boat and you're fighting against a submarine. Can't really do much against that. Now, with all that out of the way, we can finally really start the video. And the first thing is, I was right. I am always right. Never doubt me ever. I am God King YouTuber. I am always right. I will always predict everything, because look where the heretics have control over. The place I said that they would bum rush. And hey, I was right. Check out this video if you want to see that. But as well as that, because I'm just going to focus on Spain right now. Now, from there, this one's like a really bad quality image. I really need to get a better one, but right there are Portugal and Spain, and there's no Moors, which means the Spanish Inquisition exists, which means I'm right again. You know why? Because I'm always correct. I'm never wrong. You know what? I'm gonna increase the quality of this image. Just give me a sec. Let's hire this up, make this up, sacrifice a child in the name of our Lord. Okay, looks like everything's good. Now, from the little that we can see from this map, it also just simply looks like that Spain has like a better castle than Portugal, which means Portugal might be the weaker of the two powers here, but that's all just a theory, a game tops theory. I nailed that one. Now, as well as that, the little text on next to the Spanish flag, crest, whatever it is, that is the Castile-Aragon Union. Now you may wonder, especially if you don't know anything about Spanish history, what the hell is that? Well, this refers to the union between the kingdoms of Castile and the kingdoms of Aragon, achieved through the marriage of Isabel I of the Castile and Ferdinand II of the Aragons in 1469. Now, something I found interesting about this map is that way in the southwest side of Spain, you see that little lines? That's Galicia. You know what that means? Spain hasn't been fully unified yet, which means we might be getting like a third Galicia sub-faction for like either the Inquisition or like just Spain in general, which would be really cool to see. As well as that's something that I wonder is why specifically Galicia and not any of the other countries before the unification. That's just something I'm wondering. Who knows though? Maybe this is a mistake and this won't apply, or maybe this is like secret clues for a new faction. Now we move north to France. Now, Roussillon is like southernmost part of France, and you know, I just thought of mentioning it because they had it written down there. You know, just say it. Don't know if that's going to come into any importance. Maybe it will if like Spain ends up falling to the heretics, because then they're going to be the last line of defense to Europe. Now, those three symbols are the first demonic symbols that we're going to be seeing. Won't be the last, there's going to be plenty more, don't worry. But The real question is, are they real, or did Trench Crusade just make them up? And the answer is, drumroll please, they just made them up. Yeah, completely made up. None of them, out of all of the signs that they have, are real demonic symbols. Kind of sucks, but also makes sense why they didn't use them. Now you may be wondering what the hell is happening to Avion. Well, you see that red priest right over here? He's what, in simple terms, is a bitch. I said it. I'm very brave, I know, for swearing. Amazing. But now the reason he's a bitch is because he gave Avion super aids when he let Beelzebub in. And what did he get in return for this? Super aids along with everybody else. Now outside of Avion, the two cities that got most affected were Golbake and Aquitaine. The main reason for this is because it's not like everyone died in the city. There's still priests of Beelzebub who go out and spread the plague along with them. And so either both those cities are heavily militarized, or no one lives there because it's going to be a hellhole. Now the rest of France, it's just doing France things. Nothing much is happening from what I can see in this map. Paris seems to be a well-defended city, but that makes sense. It's Paris. You don't want Paris to go up in flames now, do ya? Now, for England, Wales, Ireland, and the rest of the Isles, this gives us a lot of insight, because from seeing England, we know that England probably made this map, because where's the big-ass sun? Around the Isles, and who's wearing the crown? England. So, most likely it was English traders who made this map. Now this gives us the perspective of how the map was made. As well as that, we can see that there's a lot of battleships surrounding the Isles. Now this does make sense, because we know that the Isles get raided by heretics on basically a daily basis. The only place that doesn't get raided is England, and that's because England's got their big-ass ship, and if you come close to them, they're gonna smoke you back to hell. Okay, so this little guy, I have no idea who he is, what country that is. I think it might be some type of province in England, but I'm not 100% sure. It might be a historical country that doesn't exist anymore, but if anyone does know, comment that down below. Now for Wales, we already talked about the issue of their crest and why that's wrong, so no need to bring that up. There's not really much I can talk about it. It's just Wales. Now over here we got a United Ireland, and as I said, not that much we can tell from this map. I hope we get to see more in-depth lore about Ireland and generally just the rest of the world, but yeah. Let's move on into Scotland. Now, I can't read what that says, but if you have a better version of this map, please tell me what that is, because I'd find that very interesting. I think anyone else who reads the comment section would also find that interesting. Now, let's move on, get out of the Isles, and move to the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire seems to be fighting against demons. The reason I believe this is because Bohemia is like neighbors to the Heretic legions, so the idea that they wouldn't be constantly fighting them would be ridiculous. So, I think that the Holy Roman Empire has like a big overall role to play in future stories, and I think they might even be their own faction. Now to the north we have the Papal States and Athens. Now, Athens is like the last truly faithful place left in Greece. Everything else fell to the Heretic legions, and
Athens is barely holding on. It's most likely going to fall apart soon. But maybe we can get some cool, like, Greek-inspired factions from Athens fighting against the heretic legions in the future. Now, the Papal States, they are the homeland of Catholicism, so I don't think they're doing that bad right now. I would expect them to have quite a strong army there, but I admittedly do not know much about the Papal States, so if anyone can tell me any information they know, that would be lovely. Now, the part of the video I've been fearing the most outside of the Middle East is Northern Europe, because oh god, it's real something, honestly. Just look at it, it's amazing, other than the second gaping asshole to hell. Now, you may be asking, why is there another one? Who did this again? Who thought, oh yes, let's open the gates of hell again, but this time in Northern Europe? The man who opened the second portal was Carball, and once he opened up the portal in 1106, I believe, he became the first tyrant of the 66, which is another demonic faction. Now, how is everybody in Northern Europe holding up? Not that well. Not that well at all. So, this map does disprove one of my theories, and that was the theory that the next faction in the game was going to be some type of Viking faction. I was wrong about that. Doesn't seem to be any Vikings here. But from what we can see of this map, the places that were least affected was Norway. They're like way far away from the demonic hellscape. Not as far away as like England, but still nice and far away from that portal. The place that got the most fucked up, though, is, drumroll please, you already know, the Kalmar Union. Now, if they ever do add a Northern European faction into Trench Crusade, which I hope they do, I think this country should be the first one, simply because of how close they are to the demonic portal. And that would give us an interesting perspective, because they're like the first line of defense against these guys. They're holding their ground, but they know that they're probably going to die eventually. And if they die, Europe shall be besieged by the heretics on two fronts. And if that happens, yeah, it's GG's. Game over. It's Jova if that happens. Now over here we have the Principality of Kiev, and I think that we can see a few interesting units maybe, because they're all horsemen in this, like, map. So maybe they're going to have horseback units for the Principality of Kiev. I think for like all of Eastern Europe, there's going to be a lot of horse guys in general, just guys on horses. I also hope they keep the vampire theme they were having, which would be really cool. So here I think it says Syrians, and just by how it looks, we can already tell a bunch of different things about it. First of all, they're going to be a Muslim faction. Why? Because unlike the other seals and stuff, they have circles, and the only other places that have circles are Muslim factions, so we know that they're going to be aligned with the Muslims. Now we go up a little where we see Golden Knight. I most likely said that wrong, but I'm too happy to not care, you know? I'm too happy to care. I was right again, they added a Mongolian faction. Now, admittedly, I didn't expect it to be the Golden Horde. I was expecting it to be Necromancer Genghis Khan, but hey, we can't always get what we want in life. Now, over here we have the noble houses of the Rus, and hopefully, especially for this one, I'm hoping they're all slightly vampire inspired. All of them. I want them all to be vampires. That, if they do that, I would be a happy man. I would be fine with, being eaten by demons if I got to see Eastern European vampires. Now, right next to the noble houses of the Rus is the Kingdom of Perm, and I don't know why they specifically had Perm, but it would be nice to see like specific regional, units for Perm. I'm hoping for all these countries we get like a full-blown faction, just a million factions. I'd be completely happy with that. Now up top we have the Garden of Norground, I believe, and the Baba Yaga's like shack thing. And what I think would be really cool is if this became like a pagan faction. Now, of course, we have Siberia. Now, I don't know if this is an actual thing that existed historically. If it did, comment that down below and explain. I do doubt that this would be used as a pagan faction, simply because they got a cross and stuff, so I am leaning on the more this was like an actual historical group or faction. Now, way down south, we finally get the Iron Gate Sultanite, and they're going through it. They got the Iron Gate, which pretty much protects them, but Mecca is destroyed. Well, not destroyed, but unreachable due to like just sand. There's a giant sandstorm surrounding it, so they can't make their like pilgrimage to Mecca because they just physically cannot get there, as well as that they're constantly being attacked by demons. And for some reason, if you live in this like city, you're just not in the gate. You're screwed. You're gonna be attacked every day, and there doesn't seem to be an entrance into the gate from there. You could, go by sea, but then again, the seas are literally owned by the Heretic legions, so you don't really have much of a chance on the seas, which, I think that the Heretics might eventually one day try to attack the Iron Gate by using that the gate doesn't stretch around to the sea. Now at the moment it seems like the only force in the Middle East that isn't controlled by any Islamic faction is New Antioch. New Antioch's actually holding on there, mostly because every other Christian kingdom gives them just a ton of money, and also they have a guard shield around them that burns heretics if they enter through it. Now, for here we got this big guy, and he's Beelzebub. This is just another bad reason to live in the Middle East. You got Beelzebub as a neighbor. What the hell are you supposed to do? He's gonna try to actively give you AIDS. That's not gonna be a good thing. Now, if we go a little bit down, there's another demon. This asshole, he's probably worse than Beelzebub, because at least with Beelzebub, you get sick, you feel extreme pain, it's over, you're just gonna be a slave for the rest of your life, but you won't feel pain anymore. This guy, you're just gonna be in severe debt, and you're just gonna have to do war crimes to get out of debt, but you're never gonna get out of debt, because you fucking asked for $1 million, you fucking idiot. Now, finally leaving the heretic-controlled regions, we enter the Kingdom of Nubia and Morocco. Now, both of these countries I believe to be Christian, simply because they both have Christian iconography on their symbols, so it would just make the most sense for both of them to be Christian. Now, if you go south from the Kingdom of Nubia and Morocco, you're gonna reach the Golden Empire of Mali, and the reason they called them Golden Empire of Mali is because they got Massa Musa, and he's rich, like richest dude ever, period. Now we've made it all the way around. We've been to every part of this map. There's nothing left to explore. But I do have a theory specifically on why this part of land is still controlled by the heretics. I believe that the reason they have so much control over this, like, small space of land is because they initially bum rushed it and just completely smothered and surrounded it to make sure that they could have access to the rest of Europe. And the reason they still have control over it is because they still have a lot of people in there, so it's going to be the hardest to fight. Now, this is finally the end of this video. It took way longer than I expected, but I finally have it done. And remember, like, comment, and subscribe, and once I hit 1 million subscribers, I will recreate the Crusades in the Bass Pro Pyramid.